Chapter 3385. Tao Lord Potential, Great Tao Divine Ability. In less than an hour after the Great Tao reward descended, Lin Moyu successfully condensed his 90th Tao pattern, breaking through the limits of 4th level Tao Venerable and smoothly advancing to 5th level Tao Venerable. His accumulation was too profound, making the breakthrough effortless and natural. His aura increased sharply as powerful forces were born within his body, and his soul power became even more vast. All his powers were increasing. Each spell star flickered with light as their power changed along with his realm. However, it was only an increase in power. The spell stars didn't fundamentally change. The combat power of the undead army increased, but their numbers didn't change. As his realm increased, it became more difficult for spells to undergo qualitative changes. But as long as the spells were still strengthening, Lin Moyu was very satisfied. His spells were already too strong. If they kept undergoing qualitative changes, Lin Moyu was even worried it might bring some unwanted consequences. Everything has its extremes. A delicate balance needs to be maintained between yin and yang. This advancement was within Lin Moyu's expectations. The whole process could be said to be uneventful. However, when condensing Tao patterns, Lin Moyu still noticed some differences. The difference came from the power contained in the Tao patterns. Previously, when he comprehended multiple great Taos, the multiple great Taos didn't fuse when condensing Tao patterns, but remained independent. This resulted in each Tao pattern having its own attributes. Although they were all his Tao patterns, the great Tao power contained within them was actually different. This wasn't noticeable normally, but it was always a problem. The Tao patterns condensed this time showed obvious differences. Each Tao pattern contained the power of 6 great Taos. This power was led by the life and death force of the undying great Tao, fusing the power of the other 5 great Taos together to form a whole. There was no conflict, it was very harmonious and very powerful. This was related to his comprehension of multiple great Tao cultivation methods. Since he himself was already led by the undying great Tao, the Tao patterns naturally changed. So starting from the 86th Tao pattern, each Tao pattern was stronger than those condensed before. The increase wasn't much, just a little bit, but Lin Moyu didn't care about how strong the Tao patterns were. What mattered was that the essence of the Tao patterns had changed, which was more important than the effect. Now his Tao patterns were divided into 2 batches, old and new. The new batch consisted of 5 new Tao patterns that fused 6 great Taos. The old batch consisted of 85 Tao patterns that each fused different great Tao powers. For Lin Moyu, this wasn't a good thing. The Tao patterns needed to be unified not just individually, but as a whole. So after completing the breakthrough, while the great Tao reward was still abundant, Lin Moyu stopped condensing new Tao patterns and used the great Tao reward to transform the old Tao patterns instead. Transformation was much easier than condensation and much faster. He could transform several patterns almost every minute. This efficiency exceeded Lin Moyu's expectations. Lin Moyu felt that the reason he could transform so smoothly was related to his soul level. His soul level had already reached 8th grade innate soul, and was even in the late stage no worse than Gu Hanyu's. Although the 8th grade innate soul currently couldn't be converted into his actual combat power, the different level could imperceptibly bring many benefits. The most direct benefit was that he could comprehend the great Tao faster. It was the same now. The speed of transforming Tao patterns was very fast. He had finished transforming all the old Tao patterns before the great Tao reward ended. The 90 Tao patterns became identical, resonating with each other like starlight illuminating his soul. The Tao patterns became a whole. Lin Moyu felt his spells had strengthened a bit more, and his soul had also become a bit stronger. His foundation became more profound. Future breakthroughs would be easier without any bottlenecks. The great Tao reward finally ended. This time only 5 new Tao patterns were condensed. But Lin Moyu wasn't disappointed at all. On the contrary, he was somewhat excited. Completely transforming the old Tao patterns was more important than condensing new ones. After the great Tao reward ended, Lin Moyu glanced at his soul world. His soul world was currently moving, with the world tree and dragon soul crystal pushing it towards an unknown place. Lin Moyu left the soul crystals in his soul world for the dragon soul crystal to eat when it returned. He slowly opened his eyes to see Old Tree smiling at him.
Congratulations, young friend Lin. You've broken through again.
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
Thank you, Old Tree. This junior just broke through with the help of the Great Tao reward.
Old Tree said,
There are countless paths of cultivation. Sudden enlightenment, pills, hard cultivation are all paths, and so are Great Tao rewards. In the end, we only look at results, not the process.
Lin Moyu nodded.
This junior has learned.
At this time, Lin Moyu noticed Gu Hanyu looking at him strangely. He asked curiously,
Is there something wrong with me?
Gu Hanyu said,
You have a lot of Tao patterns.
Lin Moyu frankly admitted.
Indeed, quite a few.
Gu Hanyu said,
Your basic Tao patterns should exceed 1.
Old Tree was somewhat surprised.
Old Gu, could you have seen wrong?
Gu Hanyu said,
Whether I saw wrong or not, just asked him.
Lin Moyu said,
Elder Gu didn't see wrong. It does exceed 1.
Old Tree's eyes widened.
Goodness, your basic Tao patterns actually exceed 11. You're going to defy the heavens.
Lin Moyu asked curiously.
As far as this junior knows, isn't 9 Tao patterns the limit?
Old Tree shook his head like a rattle drum.
No, 9 is only the limit for ordinary cultivators, not the true limit. Actually, this old man thinks there's no limit to Tao patterns at all. It's just that most people think 9 is the limit, so this saying came about. It's actually a case of false information being spread.
Lin Moyu said,
I see. Then what's the significance of 11 Tao patterns?
Gu Hanyu didn't say more or less, just mentioning 11 directly, which meant there must be something special about one Tao pattern. Old Tree said,
11 Tao patterns are also called the potential of a Tao Lord. This isn't something this old man is saying, but was passed down by a Tao Lord. According to that Tao Lord, to become a Tao Lord, one must have at least 11 basic Tao patterns when becoming a Tao Venerable.
Lin Moyu still found it strange. Why set the number at 11? Couldn't someone with 9 Tao patterns or 10 Tao patterns become a Tao Lord? Gu Hanyu said,
Actually, it's not because of 11 basic Tao patterns, but because of another saying, 100 Tao patterns, great Tao divine ability. It means that when a person has 100 Tao patterns, they can obtain a divine ability from the great Tao. Moreover, the more Tao patterns one has, the closer they are to the great Tao, and the higher the probability of becoming a Tao Lord. However, 100 Tao patterns are too difficult to obtain. Later, someone found another way. When they reached 99 Tao patterns, they used some special treasures and methods to also obtain a great Tao divine ability. When obtaining the great Tao divine ability, they had a sudden enlightenment and became a Tao Lord in one go. This is why there's a saying that 11 basic Tao patterns is the potential of a Tao Lord.
Gu Hanyu explained more clearly than Old Tree. Lin Moyu finally understood why there was such a saying. Simply put, the more Tao patterns one has, the closer they are to the great Tao. And the more Tao patterns, the stronger the cultivator's talent naturally is, so the probability of becoming a Tao Lord is naturally higher. All of this is actually complementary. There's no fixed rule. This also doesn't mean that people with only 10 basic Tao patterns can't become Tao Lords. It's just that the difficulty would be extremely great.
What is a great Tao divine ability?
Lin Moyu's eyes flashed with intense curiosity. Chapter 3386. One last shock before leaving. Old Tree said,
A great Tao divine ability is the highest secret technique of a great Tao, but it is far stronger than ordinary secret techniques. In short, as long as one can obtain a great Tao divine ability, they are not far from becoming a Tao Lord.
Gu Hanyu corrected him.
Old Tree's statement is only half correct. Very few can obtain a great Tao divine ability. Those few beings all became Tao Lords. There are also several Tao Lords who did not obtain a great Tao divine ability.
Old Tree's eyes widened.
How am I only half correct? Those few Tao Lords just haven't displayed their great Tao divine abilities. It doesn't mean they don't have them.
Gu Hanyu clearly didn't want to argue with Old Tree.
Right, everything you say is correct.
Old Tree snorted.
You're always opposing me. Do you want to fight right now?
Gu Hanyu said softly.
If you insist on saying that, it's not impossible.
The two were at odds again, neither willing to back down. Lin Moyu had already remembered Old Tree's words. Obtaining a great Tao divine ability means one is not far from becoming a Tao Lord. He had 18 basic Tao patterns. By cultivating to 9th level Tao Venerable, his total Tao patterns could reach 162, far exceeding the requirement of 100 patterns. In other words, obtaining a great Tao divine ability was almost certain for him. So his chances of becoming a Tao Lord were also very high. At this moment, Lin Moyu felt that the distance between himself and Tao Lord didn't seem very far. A person who had just reached 5th level Tao Venerable was actually thinking he wasn't far from Tao Lord. If he said this out loud, he would probably be laughed at by all great Tao realm beings. 5th level Tao Venerable was still 100,000 miles away from great Tao realm, let alone Tao Lord. After arguing for a while, the two stopped without actually fighting. Gu Hanyu said,
Even if one reaches 100 Tao patterns, without reaching Great Tao realm and going to the outer Great Tao, one still can't obtain a Great Tao divine ability.
Gu Hanyu was kindly reminding Lin Moyu to cultivate quickly without slacking off. Only Great Tao realm qualifies for a Great Tao divine ability. This thing above secret techniques had an amazing allure for all cultivators. He believed Lin Moyu would definitely work hard for a Great Tao divine ability. But he was wrong on one point. Lin Moyu didn't consider Tao Lord as his goal. Because Question Heaven Tao Monarch had said before that Tao Lords fell in the origin catastrophe. Tao Lords can also die, so Tao Lord wasn't his goal. The Lord of Hell also fell. Lord of Hell wasn't his goal either. Lin Moyu's goal was very distant and grand. He thought again of that old man in the green robe. In Lin Moyu's perception, the green-robed old man was stronger than Tao Lords. Among all the people he knew, the green-robed old man was one of the 4 strongest. These 4 were the green-robed man, his Tao companion, the old man who gave him the ancestral water, and the powerful person who shattered hell. Gu Hanyu said,
It's about time. You should go back now.
Old Tree also said loudly,
Young friend Lin, thank you very much this time. If fate allows, we'll welcome you in the outer Great Tao in the future.
Lin Moyu said,
Are the 2 elders also going back?
Gu Hanyu said,
It's time to go back.
Old Tree said,
There are still some things to do before going back. We need to prepare for a while.
Lin Moyu nodded.
Then this junior wishes the 2 elders great progress in cultivation after returning to the outer Great Tao, advancing 1,000 miles in a day.
Old Tree laughed heartily.
Good, good, good. We'll take your kind words.
Gu Hanyu said,
Cultivate quickly. We'll meet in the outer Great Tao.
Lin Moyu bowed slightly and was about to turn and leave when he suddenly thought of something.
Elders, do you know about the ancestral water essence?
Gu Hanyu was slightly startled.
You obtained the ancestral water essence?
Old Tree quickly followed up.
Where did you get the ancestral water essence from?
Lin Moyu said,
An old elder gave it to me. This junior has never known the use of the ancestral water essence. I wonder if the 2 elders know.
Lin Moyu had actually asked several people about the ancestral water essence. This included the 3 ancestors, the Beast Emperor, and Question Heaven Tao Monarch. But he didn't get an accurate answer. The great Tao realm beings he asked were all vague and seemed unwilling to speak about it. This time he had helped Gu Hanyu and Old Tree greatly. Perhaps the 2 could tell him some information. Gu Hanyu and Old Tree exchanged a glance. Lin Moyu saw shock in their eyes. Lin Moyu took in their expressions and thought to himself,
The same look as the 3 ancestors and Beast Emperor. What shocks them isn't the ancestral water essence, but the person who gave me the ancestral water essence.
Gu Hanyu said,
The ancestral water essence is a good thing.
Lin Moyu nodded.
Several holy sects of the human race have obtained ancestral water essence, but for countless years, no one has known its true use.
Gu Hanyu said,
The ancestral water essence has many uses, different for each person, just like Great Tao rewards where everyone's rewards are different. So what kind of effect the ancestral water essence will have depends on you yourself.
Lin Moyu pondered for a few breaths, then gritted his teeth inwardly.
An elder once said the ancestral water essence could help me break through to Great Tao realm.
Gu Hanyu said,
When you advance to Great Tao realm, the ancestral water essence indeed has a boosting effect, increasing the success rate by at least 30%. But using it then would be somewhat wasteful. After Great Tao realm, the ancestral water essence will have an even greater effect. You cultivate the time Great Tao. In the future when you reach Great Tao realm, you can seek answers within the time Great Tao. In the time Great Tao, there's a long river pavilion that records most of the events that have happened on the origin continent from ancient times to now. You'll find what you want there.
Old Tree chuckled.
Others who want to go to the long river pavilion have some trouble and need to pay a considerable price. You cultivate the time Great Tao, so it will be much easier for you.
Gu Hanyu said,
I can only say this much. Remember, if you can avoid using the ancestral water essence, try not to use it. Even when you go to the outer Great Tao, don't tell others you have ancestral water essence. This thing is too precious and will attract covetous eyes.
Lin Moyu nodded slightly.
Thank you for telling me, elders. This junior takes his leave.
Lin Moyu turned and left, disappearing into the white mist in an instant. After Lin Moyu left, Old Tree muttered,
Goodness, young friend Lin actually met that person.
Gu Hanyu said,
To be noticed by that person, he is indeed extraordinary. His future achievements will definitely far surpass you and me.
Old Tree strongly agreed with Gu Hanyu's words.
Naturally. This old man has lived for billions of years but has never seen someone like young friend Lin.
Great Tao Essence Fire, 5th level Tao Venerable at 3,000 years old, over 11 basic Tao patterns, predestined for a Great Tao divine ability, cultivating 6 Great Tao simultaneously, proficient in formations and possessing ancestral water essence. Any single one of these points would be incredibly shocking if revealed. Just having one of these would make someone a once-in-10,000 years genius. Now Lin Moyu had all of these. As long as he didn't die, his future achievements were already beyond what they could imagine. Outside the 9 Extremes Glacier of the Coldwater Holy Land, it had been half a month since Lin Moyu entered the 9 Extremes Glacier. During this half-month, Gu Tsong, Gu Hanbing and others hadn't left. They waited from afar. These ancestor-level figures were all extremely patient. This bit of time meant nothing to them. A single meditation might take several years, and a closed-door cultivation could last hundreds or thousands of years. Gu Hanyu was cultivating 1,000 miles away at the entrance, activating her cold plum bloodline according to Little May's teachings. The whole process went very smoothly. In 10 days, Gu Hanyu's bloodline was activated. At that time, countless cold plum blossoms shot towards the sky, turning into an ice river falling down. The scene was incredibly magnificent. As Gu Hanyu activated her bloodline, her cultivation advanced greatly, almost directly breaking through to 7th level Tao Venerable. Now she was only a hair's breadth away from 7th level Tao Venerable. For the past few days, Gu Hanyu had been watching the 9 Extremes Glacier. Finally, her heart suddenly started beating faster, and she sensed something through the reason branch. Gu Hanyu smiled, like cold plum blossoms in full bloom.
He's back.
Chapter 3387. Are you willing to marry young friend Lin? The reason branch gave Gu Hanyu advance notice, allowing her to sense Lin Moyu's appearance. Little May giggled, her childish face bearing a mature expression.
Teacher will certainly return safely. There's no need to worry at all.
Gu Hanyu nodded lightly.
Indeed, he is very remarkable.
Thinking back to when she had hunted Lin Moyu in the past, she could never have imagined things would turn out this way. The person she once wanted to kill was now about to become her husband. She didn't think about whether Lin Moyu could successfully find the ancestor, or whether he could enter the extremely dangerous 9 Extremes Glacier. A voice deep in her soul kept telling her that Lin Moyu would definitely succeed, that there would be no accidents. Little May said softly.
After today, I'll have to call you Master's wife.
Gu Hanyu quickly shook her head.
No, you are the plum ancestor.
Little May said.
The plum ancestor has passed away. I am just Little May, teacher's disciple. You are my master's wife. Don't tell others about my identity. This is my new life, no longer related to the cold water Holy Land.
Gu Hanyu asked.
You really don't plan to come back?
Little May said.
If the cold water Holy Land has no troubles, it doesn't need me. If there are troubles and I'm capable, I'll naturally return. Moreover, with teacher around, there's no need for me to act.
Gu Hanyu could hear that Little May had a kind of mysterious trust in Lin Moyu. After waiting a bit longer, Lin Moyu's figure finally appeared in their sight. Lin Moyu walked step by step, seemingly slow but actually fast. Each step covered hundreds of meters like teleportation. In the blink of an eye, he was before them. Gu Hanyu's face blossomed with a smile.
You're back.
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
Were you worried about me?
Gu Hanyu shook her head.
Not worried. I knew you'd be fine.
Lin Moyu said,
You have such confidence in your husband. Fortunately, your husband didn't disappoint you.
Gu Hanyu's beautiful eyes glowed slightly. Although she had guessed the result, she still couldn't help showing surprise.
You met the ancestor.
Lin Moyu said.
Indeed, I met Elder Gu Hanyu.
Hearing the three words,
Gu Hanyu.
Gu Hanyu and Little May knew that Lin Moyu had indeed met him. The ancestor's name was rarely mentioned in the Gu family. They basically all referred to him as
Ancestor.
Out of respect. As for outside the Holy Land, no one would know Gu Hanyu's name. This name was too ancient, so ancient that it wasn't recorded in any materials. Lin Moyu being able to say the three words,
Gu Hanyu,
meant he had truly met him. Gu Hanyu asked,
How is the ancestor now?
Lin Moyu said,
Elder Gu is very well. You know that at that realm, the issue of lifespan no longer exists.
Gu Hanyu was somewhat puzzled.
If the ancestor is fine, why doesn't he come back?
Lin Moyu said,
Before, it was because of some matters that he couldn't leave the 9 Extremes Glacier. Later he might come back once, or he might not come back. The specific situation is a bit complicated. Let's talk as we walk.
Gu Hanyu nodded.
Let's go. The elders are probably anxious waiting.
Before, he was trapped in the 9 Extremes Glacier. Now he needs to return to the outer Great Tao. Even if Gu Hanyu wanted to return to the cold water Holy Land, he could probably only come for a quick look. Moreover, from his conversation with Gu Hanyu, Lin Moyu could sense that Gu Hanyu didn't have very deep feelings for the Gu family or the cold water Holy Land. This was understandable. He had lived for countless years. Although today's cold water Holy Land Gu family still recognized him as their ancestor, they were separated by who knows how many generations. Any feelings had long since faded away with the passage of time. As the Holy Lord, Gu Hanyu knew some things about the origin catastrophe. She could also understand Gu Hanyu's thoughts, so she easily accepted Lin Moyu's words. The three left the 9 Extremes Glacier. Gu Hanyu personally closed the formation. Seeing Lin Moyu return unharmed, old Gu Tsong's face broke into a smile.
Young friend Lin, you really did return safely.
Gu Hanbing snorted lightly.
Who knows if he really went? Maybe he just went to the first few extremes.
Mu Chun shook his head beside them.
I believe in young friend Lin's character. He wouldn't do that.
Lin Moyu smiled and tossed the Bloodline J tablet to Gu Hanbing.
Elder Gu Hanyu's words are all in here.
As soon as the Bloodline Jade tablet entered her hand, Gu Hanbing sensed something unusual. She had made this jade tablet herself. She knew very well how much Gu family bloodline was in the tablet. Now that the tablet was back, the bloodline inside was clearly more than 10 times stronger. Moreover, the purity of the bloodline aura shocked even her. A direct descendant of the Gu family. Old Gu Tsong had a similar feeling. He said in a low voice,
The bloodline in the jade tablet is very ancient, and also very pure.
Gu Hanbing was uncertain and surprised.
Could he really have met the ancestor? Impossible. With his realm and cultivation, he couldn't possibly truly enter the Nine Extremes Glacier. The ancestor being in the Nine Extremes Glacier is just a legend. No one has ever really seen him. Could this kid have some special method to tamper with the bloodline in the Jade Tablet?
Despite her doubts, Gu Hanbing still activated the Jade Tablet. The Jade Tablet emitted dazzling light, which gathered in the air to form a cold plum blossom. A vast pressure burst out from the cold plum blossom, sweeping across the area. In an instant, countless cold plum blossoms fell within a 100-mile radius, causing a plum blossom rain. Gu Hanyu's projection appeared from within the cold plum blossom. His gaze was cold as he swept his eyes over everyone present. The bloodlines of all Gu family members present simultaneously boiled. Through the blood connection, all Gu family members realized at this moment that they were seeing their ancestor. Appearances can be faked, projections can be tampered with, but this blood connection cannot be falsified. Gu Hanyu's appearance was exactly the same as in the records, especially the cold plum blossom on his brow, which stimulated the bloodline of every Gu family member. Then, the pressure of the Great Tao realm fell from the sky. The pressure was so intense that people could hardly breathe. Without thinking, old Gutsong immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the projection.
Unfilial descendant of the Gu family pays respects to the ancestor.
With him taking the lead, countless Gu family elders knelt and kowtowed. Gu Hanbing also knelt down and kowtowed to Gu Hanyu. Gu Hanyu also wanted to kowtow, but Lin Moyu held her, not letting her kneel. Little Mei didn't kneel either. In her previous life she was a Gu family member, but not in this life. She was just Lin Moyu's disciple. If she were to bow, she would bow to Lin Moyu. Among those present, only Lin Moyu, Gu Hanyu, Little Mei, and Mu Chun remained standing. Everyone else was kneeling on the ground. Gu Hanyu calmly accepted their kowtows. After sweeping his gaze around, he finally settled on Gu Hanyu. His authoritative and deep voice slowly sounded.
You are the current Holy Lord Gu Hanyu?
Gu Hanyu slowly bowed.
Coldwater Holy Land, 89th generation Holy Lord Gu Hanyu, pays respects to the ancestor.
She was about to kneel again. This time Lin Moyu couldn't hold her back, so he could only let her. Gu Hanyu made an sound.
Not bad talent. The cold plum bloodline is very rich. Good potential. This ancestor asks you, are you willing to marry young friend Lin?
Gu Hanyu trembled slightly, but answered without hesitation.
Hanyu is willing.
Hearing Gu Hanyu's answer, a hint of a smile appeared on Gu Hanyu's cold and stern face. Gu Hanbing's heart jolted. She already knew the ancestor's intention. Chapter 3388. Joining the fun. Gu Hanyu's deep voice echoed across the icy land.
The rules this ancestor left behind were to maintain blood purity as much as possible, not to completely forbid marrying outsiders. Moreover, even if marrying outsiders, is this ancestor's cold plum bloodline so easily affected? Men and women marrying of their own free will, as long as they don't do anything to harm the Holy Land or the Gu family, there's no need to obstruct. Rules are made by people and can be changed by people. Rules are dead, people are alive. One must know how to be flexible, otherwise how can one prove the Great Tao? This time, young friend Lin entered the Nine Extremes Glacier and helped this ancestor greatly. To this ancestor, and the entire Coldwater Holy Land, it's a great kindness. This ancestor approves of Hanyu and young friend Lin's marriage. No further opposition is allowed.
As the ancestor of the Gu family, his words were as good as law. No one in the Gu family dared to oppose. Especially as he spoke, their bloodlines boiled non-stop. The Gu family members knew that the ancestor had engraved some words into their bloodlines. All the elders present said in unison,
We obey the ancestor's decree. Gu family descendants cultivate well. If one day you can prove the Great Tao, this ancestor will welcome you all in the outer Great Tao.
Gu Hanyu waved his large hand, and the cold plum blossoms exploded, turning into streams of cold air that entered the bodies of all Gu family members. Their bloodlines roared and boiled, shaking the surroundings.
My bloodline has improved. This old man's bloodline has increased by at least 30%. My cultivation that had stagnated for many years has finally progressed again.
One by one, the Gu family elders were overjoyed. Then everyone kowtowed simultaneously, shouting in unison,
Thank you, ancestor.
At this moment, they no longer had any doubts about Gu Hanyu's identity. Who else could improve their bloodlines? Besides their own ancestor, no one had such ability. The cold plum blossoms completely dispersed, and the light from the bloodline jade tablet also dimmed. The bit of power Gu Hanyu had left in it was also exhausted. Lin Moyu looked at Gu Hanbing.
Does Ice Ancestor still want to oppose?
Gu Hanbing's mouth twitched twice, and she lowered her voice.
The ancestor has spoken. Naturally, the Gu family members must obey the ancestor's orders.
Old Gu Tsang laughed heartily.
The ancestor has spoken. Who would dare oppose now? Young friend Lin, what exactly did you see in the Nine Extremes Glacier? Can you tell us?
Lin Moyu was prepared. He took out a jade tablet.
Everything that can be said is in here. Some things can't be said, so elders, please don't ask.
Old Gu Tsang laughed heartily.
Good. We won't ask if we can't. Let this old man take a look quickly.
After looking at the contents of the jade tablet, he frowned slightly.
To think the ancestor has been in the ninth extreme all along. What a pity. We descendants are incompetent. In countless years, no one has been able to enter the ninth extreme. Fortunately, it was young friend Lin. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known the ancestor was well.
Lin Moyu smiled but didn't say anything. Actually, it wasn't that the descendants were incompetent, but that heaven and earth restricted them. The entire origin continent was in a special state where no one could break through to the pseudo-great Tao realm, so naturally no one could enter the ninth extreme. This restriction had only started to loosen in the past few hundred years. It was believed that before long the pseudo-great Tao realm would appear. The jade tablet was passed among the elders, and everyone learned about some of the situations in the Nine Extremes Glacier. They were all somewhat surprised that Lin Moyu could really reach the ninth extreme and see Gu Hanyu. At this time, Gu Hanyu's ears twitched slightly, and she said loudly,
Elders, the matter of recruiting disciples this year has been delayed for over 10 days. We can't keep putting it off. Hanyu needs to go handle it first. Or if the elders think someone else should handle it, Hanyu will hand over the authority.
Gu Hanyu was still the Holy Lord now, so the affairs within the Holy Land still needed to be handled by her. Because Lin Moyu had entered the Nine Extremes Glacier, the matter of recruiting disciples had been delayed. Those disciples who had passed the first test had already been staying in the Coldwater Holy Land for over 10 days. There was also Wu Xingguang who had come to propose marriage and had been staying for over 10 days. Now that Lin Moyu had returned, Gu Hanyu had received reports from her subordinates and wanted to continue this matter. There were many things to do in the Holy Land, and some matters required the Holy Lord's decision. Gu Hanbing said,
You're still the Holy Lord now. Even if you're going to get married, there's no rush. Go handle the matters at hand first.
Gu Hanyu said,
All right, Hanyu will handle all the affairs well. Ice Ancestor, please don't worry.
Gu Hanbing said,
What do I have to worry about? The Ancestor knows your abilities. After you've handled the matters at hand, choose a successor. We'll all be at ease with whoever you choose.
Actually, Gu Hanbing trusted Gu Hanyu very much. Otherwise, she wouldn't have done this. Lin Moyu even saw a hint of reluctance in her eyes. It was just because she was too rule-abiding, not because she was targeting Gu Hanyu. Gu Hanyu nodded.
Hanyu understands. Then Hanyu will go do her work first.
Old Gu Tsang smiled.
Girl Hanyu, before you go, send us old fellows back first. Otherwise, it'll be too troublesome for us to return.
As soon as old Gu Tsang said this, it immediately drew kind laughter from the other elders.
Yes, send us old fellows back first.
The elders were clearly joking with Gu Hanyu, showing that their usual relationship wasn't bad. After all, barring accidents, Gu Hanyu would become an elder like them in the future. They were all Gu family elders, so naturally they had to be polite to each other. In the Gu family, there weren't many power struggles. Gu Hanyu used the origin spirit vein to send these elders back. Finally, only Lin Moyu and Little Mei were left. Gu Hanyu said,
"Do you want to come with me?"
Lin Moyu said,
"If it's convenient, I'll also go see how you recruit disciples. Join in the fun."
Little Mei giggled.
"Actually, teacher wants to see how that Wu Xingguang proposes marriage."
Gu Hanyu said,
"Then let's go together."
In the great hall of Gu Hanyu's holy land, Gu Hanyu sat on the holy throne. Lin Moyu and Little Mei sat to the lower left of Gu Hanyu. Their status was quite special at the moment. Only the elders knew about his relationship with Gu Hanyu. The other disciples didn't know. After discussing with several elders, Gu Hanyu gave Lin Moyu the status of a guest elder. With this status, Lin Moyu naturally had the right to sit here. Gu Hanyu lightly tapped the armrest, and her dignified, cold voice sounded,
"Bring them in."
Soon after, 2 Holy Land disciples led 7 young people into the Great Hall. The 7 young people, 3 males and 4 females, were all ordinary people, looking only about 16 or 17 years old. Lin Moyu glanced at them and found that their aptitudes weren't bad. They were all seedlings for cultivation. However, according to the Cold Water Holy Land's requirements, they might not meet the standard. After bringing the people in, the Holy Land disciple bowed to Gu Hanyu.
"Greetings to the Holy Lord. The people have been brought. This year, a total of 347 people entered the Cold Ice Ancient Path. Among them, 280 people didn't complete 2/3 of it. Of the remaining 67 people, 60 didn't complete the full course. Only these 7 completed the full course. The detailed information of the 7 is here."
This disciple respectfully handed over a jade tablet containing the 7 people's information to Gu Hanyu. Gu Hanyu took the jade tablet and began to check it. It contained various information about the 7 people, including their backgrounds and ages. Little Mei whispered in Lin Moyu's ear,
"Master's wife looks so dignified now."
Lin Moyu was also admiring Gu Hanyu at this moment. Having held a high position for a long time, Gu Hanyu had an aura that ordinary cultivators couldn't compare to. Chapter 3389. Just refuse directly. When handling affairs, Gu Hanyu's dignity as Holy Lord was undoubtedly displayed. Lin Moyu admired Gu Hanyu's beauty. This kind of beauty was rare to see and very attractive. The Cold Water Holy Land was very strict in recruiting disciples, but their process wasn't actually complicated at all. The Cold Ice Ancient Path that opened each year was the first step. Actually, anyone who could successfully complete 2/3 of it had a chance to join the Cold Water Holy Land. Those who couldn't even complete 2/3, or were afraid of freezing to death after only walking half, were eliminated early on. This step tested one's determination. If one's determination wasn't even this firm, then they didn't qualify to join the Cold Water Holy Land. Those who could complete 2/3 were considered to have passed. Even if they couldn't join the Cold Water Holy Land, the Holy Land would arrange for them to join various small sects within their sphere of influence as disciples, setting them on the path of cultivation. These people weren't completely without chance. As long as their future performance was impressive enough, they would still have a chance to rejoin the Cold Water Holy Land. This had always been the Cold Water Holy Land's practice, but these people were required to make an oath not to reveal this matter. The outside world didn't know at all that as long as one completed 2/3, they might have a chance to change their fate. So many people gave up and turned back before even completing half. Their determination wasn't firm enough. They were destined to be ordinary people, living less than 100 years, and destined to never experience a broader world. As for those who completed the full course, they had already proven their determination. At worst, they could be sent to various small sects to become elite disciples. The second test of the Cold Water Holy Land examined their perception of power. Formations were set up in the Great Hall. They would enter the formations to sense different types of power, thus determining which kind of cultivation technique they were more suited for. At the same time, the formations could further judge their talent strength. After this, the third test examined their minds. This test was divided into 2 steps. First was the Great Tao Oath, swearing to never betray the Cold Water Holy Land and never do anything harmful to it. Second was using formations to create illusions, once again verifying if their hearts were strong enough. These 3 tests determined the future paths of these 7 people. In Lin Moyu's view, although it wasn't perfect, it was already sufficient. Cultivation was a long road. There was no need to rush too much. Many things needed to be tested by time. The entire test lasted nearly half a day before ending. Gu Hanyu decided where the 7 people would go. 5 of them were sent to the outer sect of the Cold Water Holy Land, starting as menial workers. The other 2 performed better. Although they also entered the outer sect, they directly became outer sect disciples and didn't need to do menial work. According to the Cold Water Holy Land, they only recruited 2 disciples this year. The other 5 were still menial workers and didn't count as disciples. After the 7 were taken away, Lin Moyu smiled and asked,
Actually, small matters like recruiting disciples can be left to others. You, as the Holy Lord, don't need to personally handle it, right?
Gu Hanyu said,
I'm used to it. I'm not at ease unless I oversee some things myself.
Lin Moyu said,
But that way you'll be very tired.
Gu Hanyu said,
It's fine. It just takes up some cultivation time, but nothing else.
In the years Gu Hanyu had led the Cold Water Holy Land, all affairs of the Holy Land were in good order, better than under the previous Holy Lord. That's why the elders trusted Gu Hanyu so much, letting her decide her successor herself without interfering. Little Mei said,
In the past, there were several Holy Lords who only focused on their own cultivation and left the Holy Land's affairs to others to manage. Later, the Holy Land's affairs became a mess, and even several power factions emerged. The Holy Land almost split apart.
Gu Hanyu said,
Plum Ancestor is right. Later, it was the elders who intervened and suppressed the situation, stabilizing the Holy Land. But the Holy Land's vitality was damaged and took many years to recover. So as Holy Lord, one still needs to manage more. This way, the Holy Land can remain stable.
Lin Moyu asked,
Why not consider using a technological treasure to manage? Like Luolian in the mall?
Gu Hanyu said,
I want to, but such technological treasures that can serve as managers aren't easy to obtain. Looking at the entire origin continent besides the mall, where else would have them? You mean, only the mall has such treasures?
Gu Hanyu suddenly smiled.
So there are things you don't know too?
Lin Moyu smiled.
Don't joke. How many years have I been cultivating? How could I know more than you?
Gu Hanyu made an
Oh.
sound.
Are you saying I'm old?
Lin Moyu's smile didn't change.
I believe in Hanyu's broad-mindedness. She certainly wouldn't think that way. I didn't expect such technological treasures to be so rare.
Gu Hanyu made an sound.
Technological treasures were originally rare. Naturally, such technological treasures that can manage affairs are even rarer. I once asked the Lu Feng Chamber of Commerce. There are some technological treasures that can assist, but they're far from reaching Luolian's level. There aren't even any that reach half of it.
Lin Moyu vaguely sensed something was off. If such treasures were so rare, how did Xiao Zhantian happen to obtain one back then? Was it really just luck? Lin Moyu believed in luck, but never completely believed in luck. Vaguely, he sensed a conspiracy, as if a pair of big hands were laying out a plan. Whether himself or Xiao Zhantian, they all seemed to be pieces in this game. Gu Hanyu noticed the change in Lin Moyu's expression.
What did you think of?
Lin Moyu said,
I thought of some things. Something feels off. Let me think it through before I tell you properly.
Gu Hanyu nodded.
Then you think first. Tell me when you've figured it out.
At this time, a disciple walked into the great hall. Gu Nianshui came to the hall and was about to bow to Gu Hanyu when she suddenly froze, staring at Lin Moyu without blinking. Lin Moyu also saw Gu Nianshui and couldn't help but smile.
What a coincidence. Long time no see.
Gu Nianshui instinctively asked.
Why are you here?
Gu Hanyu knew they knew each other, but she still introduced.
Lin Moyu is now a guest elder. Nianshui, what brings you here?
Gu Nianshui immediately reacted, unable to hide her inner awkwardness. But on the surface she still bowed.
Gu Nianshui greets the Holy Lord, greets Elder Lin. The young master of the Wu family has been asking when the Holy Lord plans to see him.
Gu Hanyu said.
Right now then. Call him over.
Gu Nianshui nodded.
All right, I'll have someone bring him here immediately.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Does Hanyu know who Wu Xingguang wants to propose to?
Gu Hanyu shook her head.
The visiting card I received only said he came on behalf of the Wu family to propose, but didn't say to whom.
Lin Moyu said.
According to the information I received, the person he wants to propose to is Hanyu's sister, Gu Hanjing.
Gu Hanyu's brows suddenly furrowed.
Hanjing? That's impossible.
Gu Hanyu was somewhat agitated. Lin Moyu found it strange. How could the usually calm Gu Hanyu suddenly become so agitated? There must be something behind this. Lin Moyu said.
If you don't agree, just refuse directly.
Gu Hanyu said.
I can refuse now, but I'm a bit worried.
Chapter 3390. Wu Xingguang's Marriage Proposal. Lin Moyu could see that Gu Hanyu seemed to have some difficulties she couldn't speak of. He said softly,
If there's any problem, tell your husband. Perhaps I can help solve it.
Gu Hanyu said.
Jinger is my younger sister. Her cultivation talent is very high, no worse than mine. When she entered the Tao Venerable Realm, she went to the soul void out of curiosity. After that, there were some problems with her soul.
Lin Moyu asked.
Was her soul damaged?
Gu Hanyu shook her head.
It's not that her soul was damaged. We've checked, and her soul is still intact. But sometimes she forgets everything, as if she's become a different person. Sometimes she becomes foolish, like a child. When she's normal, she cultivates. But once she stops cultivating, she becomes different, and not just in one way. Her cultivation talent isn't affected at all. Her cultivation speed is still very fast. She's already at 3rd level Tao Venerable now. As her cultivation deepens, her condition seems to be getting worse. Her cultivation time is getting shorter and shorter, and she's foolish more and more often. Just a few days ago, Jinger developed another problem. She suddenly attacks people around her, and her consciousness is no longer clear. Now that I'm still the Holy Lord, I can naturally refuse Wu Xingguang. But what about in the future? Once I'm no longer the Holy Lord, and someone else comes to propose, what then? Now it's Wu Xingguang, but in the future there might be others. The elders have already given up on Jinger. Perhaps in some elders' eyes, Jinger has already become a tool.
Lin Moyu asked.
What about your parents?
Gu Hanyu sighed, her eyes showing a hint of sadness.
Over 20,000 years ago, we had a conflict with the Question Dao sect. At that time, both sides paid a considerable price.
Lin Moyu knew the result without being told. Gu Hanyu's parents must have passed away in that conflict. With both parents gone, Gu Hanyu and her sister grew up together. The feelings between the two sisters naturally didn't need to be said. If Gu Hanyu were to marry Lin Moyu, the one she would worry about most would be Gu Hanjing. Lin Moyu said.
Then we can take Gu Hanjing with us when we leave.
Gu Hanyu shook her head.
That won't work. I've tried taking Jinger outside to seek treatment, but as soon as we leave the Holy Land, Jinger becomes crazy and attacks people around her.
Listening to Gu Hanyu's description, Lin Moyu had a rough guess in his heart. Gu Hanjing's problem occurred in the soul void, so it must be related to her soul. As for exactly what happened, only seeing it would tell. Gu Hanjing's inability to leave the cold water Holy Land might be related to the ice great Tao in the Holy Land. In the cold water Holy Land, the power of the origin spirit vein and ice great Tao permeated everywhere. Perhaps these two powers could suppress Gu Hanjing's soul problem. Lin Moyu asked curiously.
According to what you say, she can't marry either, right?
Gu Hanyu shook her head.
That's not the case. She can marry. We have a secret technique.
She seemed reluctant to continue, hesitating. At this point, Little May said softly,
There's a secret technique in the Holy Land called the I Soul's secret technique. Using the I Soul's secret technique can balance yin and yang between husband and wife. Whether for cultivation or healing injuries, its effect is excellent. I guess Master's wife is struggling with this. She wants to cure Jinger, but doesn't want Jinger to marry because of it.
Gu Hanyu sighed.
At present, the I Soul's secret technique seems to be Jinger's last hope, but I'm afraid she'll blame me after she recovers. Jinger once told me that in this life, she definitely wants to find someone she truly loves, not just anyone right now. But in the eyes of several elders, Jinger has already lost her value. If she marries out and can recover, that would naturally be best, as she's still a member of the Holy Land. If she can't recover, at least they can reclaim most of the resources. After all, the resources spent to cultivate a Dao Venerable are not small.
Gu Hanyu said this, then looked up at Lin Moyu.
Does it feel very cruel?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
Not at all. The rule of this world is survival of the fittest. And in my view, this kind of marriage is more like a transaction, which is actually fair.
Gu Hanyu said.
So I've been struggling. A few years ago, some elders had already suggested marrying Jinger off. Jinger is now in the Holy Land, normal when cultivating, but either foolish or crazy when not cultivating. Sometimes she attacks people randomly. They're also afraid she'll cause more trouble.
Lin Moyu thought for a moment and said,
How about this? Let me examine her. Perhaps I'll have a way.
Gu Hanyu's face lit up with joy.
Really?
Lin Moyu said.
I can only say, we can try.
Little May smiled.
Teacher will definitely have a way.
Shadows appeared outside the hall. Gu Nianshui led Wu Xingguang and two Wu family elder ancestors into the hall. When Wu Xingguang saw Gu Hanyu, his eyes suddenly lit up, showing a hint of greed, but he quickly returned to normal. Wu Xingguang glanced at Lin Moyu, clearly surprised to see Lin Moyu sitting in the position below Gu Hanyu. He bowed to Gu Hanyu.
Wu family young master Wu Xingguang greets Jade Holy Lord.
Wu Xingguang's expression was well hidden, but it couldn't escape the eyes of Lin Moyu and Gu Hanyu. Gu Hanyu said,
Young Master Xingguang needn't be so formal. I received your visiting card earlier, saying you wanted to come propose marriage. May I ask for whom in the Wu family are you proposing, and who is the intended?
Wu Xingguang said.
Xingguang is proposing for himself. The intended is none other than Jade Holy Lord's sister, Fairy Jing.
Gu Hanyu's brows furrowed slightly.
Young Master Xingguang should choose someone else. Jinger is not suitable for marriage now.
Wu Xingguang couldn't help but ask.
How is she not suitable?
Gu Hanyu snorted lightly.
Does this Holy Lord need to explain to young Master Xingguang?
At this point, Wu Xingguang took out a token. The token was engraved with the mark of the Cold Water Holy Land, with an ice character on the back. This was Gu Hanbing's token, similar to the one Lin Moyu had received from Gu Tsong. Gu Hanyu's brows furrowed even more. She had a bad feeling. Wu Xingguang said,
This is the token given by your ice ancestor. With this token, I can make a request to your holy land. Any request, isn't that right?
Gu Hanyu lightly raised her hand, and the token automatically flew into her hand. Wu Xingguang wasn't afraid that Gu Hanyu wouldn't honor it. The token was given to the Wu family by Gu Hanbing, unless Gu Hanyu wanted to fall out with the Wu family completely. After checking the token and confirming it was genuine, Gu Hanyu threw it back to Wu Xingguang and said,
The token is indeed from Ice Ancestor. But young Master Xingguang should also know the rules of our holy land. You can propose marriage, but Jinger herself must be willing. Now this Holy Lord tells you on Jinger's behalf, this marriage is not possible. Choose someone else. Perhaps this Holy Lord can even help persuade them,
Wu Xingguang's expression didn't change. He smiled lightly.
If Fairy Jing herself is unwilling, this young master naturally can't force it. But this young master wants to hear Fairy Jing say it herself. As long as Fairy Jing refuses in person, this young master will leave without another word. You.
Gu Hanyu suddenly realized that Wu Xingguang must know about Gu Hanjing's condition to say this. She was at a loss for a moment. Faced with Ice Ancestor's token, even as the Holy Lord, she had to follow the rules. At this point, Lin Moyu's voice slowly sounded.
So you're saying that your request using Ice Ancestor's token now is to have Gu Hanjing refuse you in person?